What's up, builders? This is Raise the Bar Radio, where we talk about building wealth, raising capital, and all in all, raising the bar in your business and your life. This is the No BS podcast for capital raisers, investors, and entrepreneurs who are serious about scaling their business and living life on their own terms. I'm Seth Bradley, securities attorney, real estate investor, and entrepreneur, bringing you world-class strategies from the best in the game. If you're ready to raise more capital, close bigger deals, build a better you, and create true financial freedom, you're in the right place. Let's go. Man, excited to have you on the show. Let's just jump right in, man. Tell the listeners a little bit about your background and take it back as far as you like.
So, man, how long's the show? I think the big thing, to be honest with you, anytime I kind of get asked about my background, my background shaped me. My background kind of brought me through to what it is that we're doing now. And I kind of speak in terms of anointings and callings and what it is that was stamped on us from a young age. And for me, it was health. I knew that. And when I leaned into that as a young boy, at 12, 13 years old, I was a fat kid. I was the one that always get made fun of. But I also had this deep desire to know and understand my body at a level that didn't make sense to a lot of people. And there was, I still remember I did this study at the University of Alberta, born and raised in Canada, and was a very athletic kid, but was just overweight. And I did this study, and they were looking at how kids, and based on their habits and behaviors, whether you could actually be fat and fit. And so they brought me in and we did all these tests and all these studies, and my VO2 max was at the 99th percentile. My muscle mass was at the 99th percentile. My time spent watching TV, playing video games, all these other things was at the 99th percentile of not doing those things. But yet I had a BMI that was obese. I was had a body fat percentage, I think, of 34%, something in these areas. And I still remember the article that came out. It was the front page of the paper because it was a really groundbreaking study in Canada, and it said "fat and fit?" ? With a picture of me, and I was on the bike, and it really just started, like, it messed with my mind. And obviously it only continued the teasing, continued all these things. But I was the kid that wore a heart rate monitor to bed, wore a heart rate monitor all day long, had a pulse oximeter that I would look at 3-4 times a day. When everyone else was reading comic books, I was reading medical journals. And this was something that I was just fully enthralled with. Well, that experience threw me the other direction. And from about 14 to 18, became severely anorexic. Had a really hard ability to see myself well, and just love who I was. And I had a major body composition issue, and that propelled me down into the United States. I still happen to be a very good athlete. Came to the United States on a hockey scholarship. Did 2 undergraduate degrees, one in exercise science, another in nutrition, went and got my master's degree in exercise physiology, concentration and sport performance, went and got my massage therapy license, went and got my postgraduate doctoral studies in heart rate variability, sleep and recovery science. And that propelled me into the National Hockey League. I started to really understand the body in a way that not many people did. And realizing that health is holistic. Health is integrated. Health is mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional conditions or states of the human being, and they all have to be aligned. And if there's any type of disintegration between those four, you will not be healed, you will not be healthy, and you will not realize what I call true health. And so I took that philosophy of using data, technology, and information to help heal the entire person to the NHL. And all of a sudden we started to see injury rates drop. We saw recovery times drop. We saw sickness rates drop. We saw performances increase. We saw energy increase. And the owners, the GMs were coming saying, "What are you doing? Like, I don't understand this. You're bringing a philosophy that is very weird to us. We don't understand it, but yet we see the fruits of it at the end of the day. What's happening?" that over the course of 8 years caused me to become a thought leader and really take some stages in some unique ways in professional sports and change the culture and the dynamic of how we approached performance. But going from Washington to Anaheim, I had one of the ownership team members of the Capitals come and say, "Hey, I need to meet with you when you come out." And I had seen this person, and as they walked through the door, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I had seen them 6 months previous, and as they walked through, I was like, "You've aged 30 years in 5-6 months. Like, what's going on?" He's like, "I don't know. I don't feel well. Like, I'm not sleeping. I'm stressed. I feel like I've got no control of my body, and I don't understand what's happening. Can you help me?" And in the back of my mind, I was like, this guy's a billionaire. He's just making copious amounts of money. He's a businessman. I work with athletes. But then all of a sudden I realized, no, this isn't an athlete problem. This is a human problem. And I put him through the same philosophy. We did testing. We looked at heart rate variability. We started to track information. We started to have conversations that were very philosophical in nature, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally aligned, starting to go through a lot of these identities that he had that he wasn't able to shake. And all of a sudden, 8 months later, the guy looks like he's 35 years old and he's 80. And that was the turning point for me to be like, hey, I can no longer just stay in the National Hockey League. I have to walk away and be able to impact the health of the world, because, like I said, this is not just a athlete problem. This is a human problem. And the more that we can empower people, the more that we can help them understand their bodies and understand how to heal. The definition of integrated is the exact same definition of heal. To make one, to bring whole, to make wholeness, to create oneness. And that's what we have to do mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, if we truly want to heal. You just can't be a musclehead on the outside and be sick internally and think that you're healthy. On the other side, you can't just not go to the gym and go to the therapist all day and be so aligned and do meditation and just know your purpose and be preaching from the stages. There's still disintegration. We need to make sure it's holistic, all-encompassing, and integrated to realize that deep healing. And that's what we've been doing for hundreds of thousands of people who are business owners and business leaders, entrepreneurs for the last 2.5, 3 years. So that's kind of been that journey in what looks like about 6.5 minutes.
That's incredible, man. There's so much to unpack in 6.5 minutes there. Man, I don't even know where to start. I mean, it sounds like you've had this almost an obsession with data and reading that data from your body before everybody had a Fitbit, right? Like everybody's got a Fitbit or some sort of a watch, right? And you were doing this before that kind of hit the stage because it just interests you. Right?
So, like on that note, but like definitely doing it before it was cool. But like quick story: when I was 12 years old, I asked my parents for a heart rate monitor for Christmas. And you have to realize this is back in 1998. And so the heart rate monitors were not like they are now. You can't get them for $100. You can't get a wearable device that's cheap and easy. I think that the heart rate monitor then cost like $1,600. And they're like, why do you need a heart rate monitor? Like, are you sick? Is there something wrong? I was like, no, I'm just interested. Well, they're like, we're not buying one of these things. And I said, no, like pool your money that you give me for Christmas, my birthday, and pool grandma and grandpa's money and pool like aunt and uncle's money. Like put it all together and just, that's all I want. You can just never get me a gift for the next year, not till next Christmas. So that's what they did. And that was literally how I got my first piece. And I've just been obsessed with it ever since, of really being able to just provide information. Because I think knowledge is one thing, understanding is something completely different. And we need to be able to dissociate between information and understanding and help cross that bridge so that you can be empowered to take action in your own health.
Yeah, that's incredible. Your parents kind of made that sacrifice to make it happen for you. I don't know if you would have been a little bit set back because they didn't provide that for you at that time, but it kind of catapulted you on this journey. Do you think that, reading that data is maybe the first step in kind of working towards analyzing that holistic approach, or where do you kind of see all this begin?
No, first step is that's to be honest with you, that's the world's approach. The world's approach, I say, is a body up approach. So there's four entities of health, right? Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. And I attach each one of those to a different entity. So physical, your body; emotional, your heart; mental, your mind; and spirit, your spiritual component. And the world's approach is to take a bottom-up, body-first approach. You need to get the wearable device. You need to start tracking all this stuff. You need to look at everything under the sun. You need to go get your DNA tested. You need to go get your blood tested. You need to go and do the cold plunge, the sauna, the red light, the intermittent fasting, the high-intensity interval training. You have to do all the things because you have to get the six-pack. You have to lose the 20 pounds. You have to do whatever it might be. It's the body-up approach. Well, that body-up approach creates a poisoning of the heart, poisoning of the emotions. It brings on anxiety. It brings on fear. It brings on this feeling of overwhelm. All things that I experienced as a child, which is why I continued to pair them through. I was fearful of becoming fat again. Thus, I took things to an extreme. I was fearful of not being able to have the energy to do what I wanted. Thus, I was acting out of certain things, and I would have to go do my workouts, and it would bring up massive anxiety because it was just so much, and I was overwhelmed by it all. That poisoning of the heart creates a separation of the mind. Thus, I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm never going to get there. I'm not consistent enough. I'm not worthy of all these things. And that separation of the mind creates a cloudiness in our spirit, a cloudiness of who we are and what we identify with. I identified as a fat kid. I identified as the anorexic sick kid, the weird kid. That's what stuck with me, and that's why I was never fully healthy, even though at 20 years old to now at 36, I don't look any different. I've still got the six pack. I've still got the muscles. I still can lift a house. I still feel really strong. But it's not until about two, maybe even 3 years ago that I was holistically healthy, that I loved who I was, that I was really rooted. What we have to do is we have to take a top-down approach. We have to really create oneness in our spirit first. Who are we? Why are we here? What's our calling? What's our identity? What is that true desire that we're wanting to live for? Once we have that, we have a sense of oneness of our mind. We are worth it. We are good enough. We're exactly where we need to be. We're in a journey that's exciting. Thus, that eliminates and creates a purification of our heart and eliminates the anxieties, eliminates the fears, and puts us into a state of enthusiasm, energy, mental clarity, empowerment to go and step forward into these things powerfully, which then we're able to create consistency, sustainability, and longevity of our body through our habits, behaviors, and lifestyles that are now something we look forward to. And so coming back to your comment, is the first thing we have to do is not get the wearable device, is not do the thing. The first thing we have to do is get ourselves right spiritually, which comes back to identifying who we are. Who do we identify as? What are we? What is our goal, our mission, our purpose? Because once we align that, once we get clear on that, everything else starts to fall into place.
Got it. Yeah, and it's like, that body up approach, it's easier to sell. Like the culture that we live in, it's just easier to sell products. It's easier to get people, thinking they need to look a certain way. That's just, it's just that sales kind of approach. But it's backwards, right? You've got to get yourself right spiritually, mentally before, the more, the body type of physical things can even matter to you internally.
I think, yes, I think you're right. But even as you start to look at that, why do you think we're more unhealthy now than ever? We are living in a place where there's more mental illness in our society than ever before. There's more anxiety than ever before. There's more depression than ever before. We're actually sicker physically than ever before. Diabetes is on the rise. Alzheimer's is on the rise. Alzheimer's is just type 3 diabetes. That's all it is. An inability to control blood sugar. We have an obesity epidemic rising. We have now 52% of Americans that are obese, not overweight, obese. And so it's not more information. It's not getting more of these things. It's not go do this gym, go and do this thing. There's 77% of people who lose weight and get healthy gain back the weight they lost. Why? Because it was done in an unsustainable way. They had a hole that they were searching to fill that didn't align along the way. And once they accomplished the certain outcome, it didn't make them feel any different. And so it comes back to this component of integrating everything together. And when I built Own It, that was the big thing I was focused on. Do you have to have an exercise routine? You're darn right you do. Do you have to have a new way of eating? You're darn right you do. Do you want to be able to supplement the right way? You sure do. Do you want to make sure you're sleeping well and have a recovery routine? You're darn right that's important. But you also have to have the person who's going to help you with self-care, the person who's going to get your mind right, the person who's going to get your heart right, the people who are going to help you align in this way, which is why we've got everything in one place and everything had to be integrated. You can't be trying to put your own wheel together, because when you put your own wheel together, you miss out. And so I wanted to create a space where somebody could walk in and everything is there. You're going to come in, you're going to have your team that wraps their arms around you. You're going to get your DNA testing. You're going to get your cellular blood testing. You're going to get your custom supplementation. You're going to get your workout plan. You're going to get your wearable piece of technology so that your health coaches and your functional medicine docs and your RDs can track everything and help you and guide you and put these things in place for you in a slow, iterative way, so that over 12 months, you don't even recognize the habits you were in before. But on the same breath, you're going to be working mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on identifying who you are and how do you get over this gap so we can create a bridge so that you do come in this state of oneness and you step into everything powerfully. And so as a business owner, as an executive, as a business leader, you have become transformed, not conformed to what we're telling you in the world.
Got it. So it truly is holistic, right? It's not, let's start one thing, 2, 3, 4. It's all at once, small steps to lead to a major change.
100%. And I think the reason that people aren't willing to have patience with it, they're not willing to be developed. Everybody wants to arrive. Everybody wants to get to the end result, but nobody's willing to take the trip. Nobody's willing to. A great story. So we had a client who started, this guy owns 17 different franchises. And he came to us about 3 months ago. And 4 weeks into his process, he called, he goes, I'm unhappy. I'm not seeing changes. I've been in this for 4 weeks and I've just been adding some different habits. I'm looking at my wearable devices. I've just got my testing done. Nothing's changing yet. I said to him, and let's call this guy Chris. I said, Chris, we don't even have your full testing results back yet. We've only really started to implement a lot of these lifestyle changes and routines about 3.5 weeks ago. We've only been able to get 2 really deep, in-depth calls to get you realigned. We've only just started to add some of these things in. And you kind of talk him off a ledge. He comes back, continues to be consistent. And just last week, he's been with us, like I said, for about 3.5 months. Just last week, he sends us a screenshot. His quality of sleep used to be at about 37%. So REM and deep sleep totals over total time of sleep time. His quality sleep was always about 37%. He just passed 50%. His HRV, which is an intrinsic measure of how your body's adapting to stress and strain, his average was about 24. Just for a little bit of context, your goal is to always see a trend line upwards. His trend line was always downwards. He has an average HRV now of 54. His respiration rate, meaning how many breaths per minute he's taking throughout the course of the day, is dropping, meaning he's becoming more efficient. His blood glucose levels, because we've now tested twice, are half of what they were before. He was at a pre-diabetic level previously. His anxiety in terms of just talking is half of what it was, and he's down 16 pounds. Well, it took 3.5 months to get to this place, but yet 3.5, 4 weeks in, he wasn't happy. And I think we find ourselves in that position all the time because we're like, hey, I signed up for something. Hey, I got into something. And we don't see the results after 2-3 weeks. We're like, not worth it. No, you have to realize that you're getting developed. You're being shaped. And you have to be willing to stay in that development space. And the way you get through the development space the quickest and the most efficiently is when you have a team around you to hold you accountable and keep you on track. So many of us have this wide road that we're driving down, and we continue to drive all over the road, which we figure, why can't we get to our end destination? Because we're all over the place. The narrower our road is, the easier we're going to get to it because we know when we've driven off course. We're all built like fighter jets. If you got in a fighter jet pilot that took off from New York City and was going to LA, and they were 1 degree off of their direction, over the course of that flight, they would wind up 70 miles north and in the Pacific Ocean. 1 degree off. But how many of us are operating 1 degree off in our health in all of these different ways because we don't have a team, we don't have a system, we don't have a philosophy, we don't have a narrow road that we can stay on. And thus we end up navigating wherever it is we want. And we pull our head up 3, 4, 5 years later and we're like, man, I don't know how I got here. I don't know how I got to this state of depression. I don't know how I got to this state of anxiety. I don't know how I got to be 50 pounds overweight. I don't know how I got to have this chronic illness. Because our bodies are like cups. You've got one cup that's taking on stress. You got another cup that's pouring stress in. Sometimes that stress that's being poured in is a dribble. Sometimes it's an all-out onslaught. And our body doesn't know the difference between mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional stress. And so as that stress starts to accumulate in our body, it ultimately starts to overflow our cup. And the longer the cup overflows, the faster we're going to find ourselves in a state of chronic illness. Our body doesn't know the difference between mental, physical, spiritual, emotional stress. Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional stress creates inflammation. So chronic stress creates chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation causes chronic symptoms, symptoms like brain fog, symptoms like weight gain, symptoms like headache, symptoms like insomnia, symptoms like lack of energy, symptoms like anxiety and overwhelm. All symptoms that we tell ourselves are normal. That's what it takes to be a dad. That's what it takes to be a mom. That's what it takes to be a business owner. That's what it takes to get married. That's what 50 looks like. We give these excuses, but these chronic symptoms ultimately lead to chronic illness. And that's why chronic illness is killing 71% of Americans, 82% of business owners and entrepreneurs, because chronic stress leads to chronic illness. And thus, 71% of Americans are dying from something that's preventable. You either earn your disease or you earn your sickness. It's your choice. Are you willing to step in and interrupt the patterns and create awareness and empowerment through understanding what's happening internally? Or are you wanting to keep your head under the covers, keep your head in the sand, and just be like, nope, this is just normal. This is what the world tells me I need to do, and wind up just another statistic with another chronic illness, living less than what you were ultimately built for.
Pardon the interruption, but we don't do ads. Instead, know that if you're raising capital for real estate, my law firm, Raise Law, is here to give you the expert legal guidance you need to raise capital compliantly and structure and close your deal. And if you're looking for a done-for-you fund-to-fund solution, TribeVest is the industry's only all-in-one setup and fund administration solution. Visit raise.law and tribevest.com to learn more. Yeah, I would love to hear your commentary on this. I mean, I know I talk to a ton of attorneys and doctors. That's kind of the main kind of avatar of my listeners are attorneys, doctors, high income earning W-2s. And from an outside perspective, people look at us like we've got the dream job, we're making lots of money, like we're kind of a success, right? But you have these high suicide rates, and when you talk to a lot of attorneys and folks like that, they're just unhappy with their career and where it's going and where they're at. They don't have time for their family. I mean, what solutions do you think that you could provide for folks like that?
I mean, Seth, that's literally our target audience, our target avatar. It's the person we're talking to all the time. It's the person that has everything on the outside, has the dream job, has the career, has the money, has the houses, has the cars, has the family, whatever it might be, but they're not whole internally. And there's been this disintegration along the way, and they don't know where to turn. They don't know where to go. And if we were to be able to pause and say, hey, we need to come back to figure out what's happening with you. I'll give you another example. He was a lawyer. Okay. He was a very well-known lawyer, had 5 houses, private planes, everything that you could ever want. He had 5 kids, a beautiful wife of 26 years. And he came to me and he goes, Justin, I need to lose 35 pounds. It was after I keynoted an event. He comes up, he goes, Justin, I need you to help me. I need to lose 35 pounds. I would call him Tim. I said, Tim, what's on the other side of these 35 pounds that's not available to you today? And he kind of looked at me confused. And I asked him again, I said, what's available to you on the other side of those 35 pounds that's not available to you right now? And he kind of got teary-eyed. And he goes, I'm just not happy. He goes, I want to be there for my kids the way that my father wasn't for me. I want to be able to be seen as like a real life superhero in their life and be involved for a long period of time. But I don't feel like I have that capacity right now. And that was it. That was the spiritual alignment that we needed. That was the connection, the identity that we needed to lock into. And that immediately changed the way he thought, changed his beliefs that I can't have my health and be a successful lawyer at the same time. I can't have my health and be able to travel and do everything with work that I need to. That's a lie. We changed that belief inside of him, which thus changed the anxiety and the overwhelm that he was feeling all the time, changed the unhappiness that he was feeling all the time. So he was now feeling joy. He was now feeling inspired. He was now feeling motivated. And thus it impacted his habits and behaviors. He was a perennial and a terrible cycler of weight. He would lose 50, gain 60, lose 30, gain 45. He would do all the cleanses. He would do all the little life hacks. In 3 of his homes, he had over $300,000 worth of recovery things like the sauna, the cold plunge, the red light. He had all the things and all the tools, but there was a gap. And when we were able to get really clear on these things, it created long-term behavior change. And he was able to instill habits and behaviors that now started to realize the results that he was looking for. Not just the weight loss, but everything else that was really the root of what he was searching for. And so he sent me a video on October 31st of last year. So let's call, 7 months ago. And it's him sitting in his black McLaren. He's got a Batman costume on. It's Halloween. And his wife is filming his little son, Rylan, run out the door, who's also in a Batman costume. Rylan's 8. And he runs out the door. Tim hasn't lost 35 pounds. He's lost almost 70. And he's sitting in the car and he goes, Rylan, get in the Batmobile. He goes, Dad, you look like a real life superhero. And it brought it full circle. He wanted to be there for his son. He wanted to be seen as a real life superhero. He wanted to be available and he wanted to be present while also feeling more energized and have the capacity to do these things. And that's what it's all about. It's not about losing weight. That's a byproduct. It's not about performing better. That's a byproduct. It's not about having more energy. That's a byproduct. That's a byproduct of living a life by design rather than a life of default. Because as we live a life by default, we get what life gives us. We don't get what we have ultimately sought after. When your career, you got to where you were as a successful lawyer, as a successful doctor by doing what? Planning. You've become and generated passive income. How? Not just randomly, by design. You had an intentionality to create wealth. That happened because you lived a life by design. You lived a financial plan by design. Same thing with your career. But you've never done that with your life. You've never done that with your health. You've never done that holistically, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, so you can be whole and now love all the passive income you have. Enjoy it, use it, live life that way. Truly love the career you're in. Truly be enthralled, have the capacity to take on more stress and do more things and be involved in more things because you have the density within the cup. You have all the holes in your cup, so it's draining, so you can take on more stress from throughout it. But because we don't design our life that way, because we don't align that way, because we don't live a life by design, we're constantly in overflow in this state of burnout, and we don't know why, and we don't know what to get ourselves out of. And so we seek these little one-off hacks. We seek these things that the world tells us that we need, but yet it's just adding more things and adding more things and adding more things. We don't need to add, we need to replace. And the only way we know what to replace and what to do by design is when we have the data, the information, the coaching, the accountability team, the system to get us to a life of design, a life of wholeness, a life of oneness, a life that's thriving. And you have to eliminate that belief that I have to trade my mission for my health. I have to trade my calling for my health. I have to trade my desires for my health. No, friends. You can have both at the same time. You can live a life of abundance. You can have financial abundance. You can have career abundance. You can have family abundance, and you can have health abundance. But it takes living a life by design.
That's perfect, man. I love it. I mean, you get that excuse a lot, right? Like, I can only do so much. I can only fill that cup so far before I'm overflowing. Like, okay, you want me to work out every day, but I don't have time for that because I've got family, I've got a career, I've got, all these things going on. And you look at that, and people look at that cup like it can only be filled up so far, but you've got to create a way to kind of drain that cup and keep it flowing so that you can keep filling it back up.
100%. It's what I talk about, is being able to identify where are you putting holes. Where are you putting holes in that cup? And are your holes little pins, or are they drill holes that's like actually allowing you to flow? And it's so unique when you now have the blueprint from your body. You have heart rate variability. That's your daily KPI, helping you to know, hey, how is my body adapting to stress and strain? Am I taking on more than my body's able to adapt to right now? Great. What can I replace from a regeneration standpoint? What kind of self-care can I do? What kind of meditation can I do? Am I not eating something appropriately? Am I eating too late before bed? Am I not getting a wind down routine right? Do I not have a barrier or a boundary set up to stop working? I've got this 3-2-1 rule that I talk about at night, is 3 hours before bed, no more food. Why? When we take in food in our gut, it has to process it. Well, we have 400 times more melatonin in our gut than produced by the pineal gland in our brain. If we're eating right up until we're going to bed, we're not getting the melatonin release we need. Thus, we're not going to get into as deep states of sleep. Plus, it's pulling blood from our brain, which is supposed to actively downregulate and ultimately clean our brain at night. Thus, we're getting blood going to our gut. That's why we feel full and we feel bloated and we toss and turn all night long. We don't get a quality night's sleep. We wake up, we're exhausted in the morning and don't truly feel energized. And thus we need the coffee to get ourselves up. Thus we go into a cycle of accelerators and depressors, meaning accelerators such as caffeine, coffee, energy drinks, whatever it might be. And then we need the wine or the alcohol or something else to bring us down at night, the sleeping pill, the melatonin, all these things. We get into these terrible cycles that we just think are normal, but it actually comes back to our habits and behaviors that are just so misaligned and not understanding what it is we're doing. So we get that 3-2-1. No food 3 hours before bed, no work 2 hours before bed. Put a boundary in place. If you're going to bed at 10 o'clock, stop working at 8. People are like, I can't get my mind to stop at night. Well, no, you can. It's just you send emails and are on phone calls until 1 minute before you're going to bed. Like, how do you expect that to happen? And so if we have a boundary set, and then 1 hour before bed, no more blue light. Let's eliminate the blue light from our system. Let's get into a wind down routine. Let's get ourselves into a parasympathetic or relaxed state so that we can now get these quality night sleep and we can truly feel rested and wake up full of energy the next day. Like, that's the life by design. And the more that we get our testing done, our DNA, our epigenetic, our cellular testing, we can now start to curtail and refine your diet, your supplementation plan, your hydration plan. Let's figure out what's happening internally, while at the same time eliminating the barriers of thoughts, of beliefs, of identities that are holding you back from really using these and implementing them long term.
Yeah, absolutely. What does success look like for your clients that have fully accepted this program, that have executed it, that continue to execute it, the holistic approach? Paint that picture for us.
Number one, it's just true health. True health, as I say, you wake up in the morning full of energy. You have mental clarity to get everything done that you need to. You go to the gym, you've got energy to do that. You don't need the coffee to get going. You come home, you get the kids ready for school. You're able to ship them off. You've got all of your to-dos done throughout the day. You're checking them off. You're staying in that constant state of flow, that constant state of focus, that constant state of energy. You come home at night, you're able to shut down. You're able to sit at dinner and have a nice family dinner. You're able to go and do maybe your social activities at night. Maybe it's your kids' social activities at night. You're able to connect with your spouse before you go to bed. You put your head on your pillow, you fall asleep quickly, and you wake up refreshed and energized, ready to do it the next day. That's what it looks like and feels like to somebody. But what you're able to now come in, and I can just talk to like points, it's more energy, it's mental clarity, it's an increased immune function, it's a increase in just feeling healthy and like ready to go in whatever means necessary that is. It's feeling like you have control over your health in some way, shape, or form. It's the confidence to step into these things powerfully. It could be weight gain, it could be weight loss if that's something that you're looking for. But it's slightly different for each person. That's why you're not coming into our world, Ownit's coming into yours, so that we can shape it based on what your lifestyle looks like. Are you a single dad of 3 kids and a lawyer, or are you a shift worker, a surgeon, and married with 1 kid? Or are you a family guy with 5 kids and a lawyer? Are you a lawyer that lives in LA that travels 45 days a year? Or are you a lawyer in the Midwest that travels 140 days a year? All of these, you can't have the same system for everybody, because it's not going to work for everyone. And that's what we've been trying. And so we need to tailor it to you. And that's what it ends up looking like. You see an increase in HRV. You see an increase in sleep quality. You see an increase in strength. You see a decrease in fat mass. You see an increase in confidence in terms of making decisions. You see a decrease in decision fatigue, having to be like, man, I can't decide what I'm going to eat for dinner again. I can't make another choice in this area. I want to eliminate the decisions in your life. You're making decisions every day, especially in these 2 professions of medical practice and as a lawyer. You're having to make everybody's decisions for them. You're having to create arguments and create stances that you're helping to guide your clients on. Now allow us to do the same thing for your health, so that you can realize true health and be more mentally clear, be more focused, be more alert, be more energized, have a greater night's sleep, and have a team around you that's built exactly for that.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I think our audience would agree. All right, man. Before we jump into the Freedom 4, though, one last golden nugget for our listeners.
You either live a life by design or a life by default. A life by design is truly thriving and truly feeling alive. A life by default gets you average, mediocre, and good enough. You weren't built for average. You weren't built for mediocre. You weren't built for good enough. Good enough is literally the thief of excellence. And you might be realizing excellence in your practice. You might be realizing excellence in your family, but deep down, you know that you're just operating at good enough in yourself. And the only way to live that life by design is making the choice to do something different.
Love it. All right, let's jump into the Freedom 4. What's the best thing you do to keep your mind and body healthy?
Myself, oh man, I have again, I've got this episode, or I guess this show on YouTube, and it's called Championship Mornings. And I truly believe that if you own the morning, you own the day. And I think, again, going back to what the world tells us, is that we have to have a morning routine that's the same as every other successful person. But I actually think that's the biggest load of crap in the world. If your morning routine takes you 10 minutes and that connects you and that gets you set up to really move powerfully, amazing. If your morning routine is get up, do 5 minutes of breath work, sit at your computer and start banging out really deep work, boom, let's get that done. If your morning routine is go sit in the sauna and then get a 25-minute workout in, get a shower and take the kids to school, amazing. That's outstanding. If your morning routine takes you 3 hours, I'd question what you were doing, but cool. And so for me, I have non-negotiables and I have 3 of them. Number 1 is getting morning sun. So I will always go and sit outside, get the sunrise. Doesn't mean it's cresting over top of the horizon, but it's rising. So some days it's 6:15, some days it's 5:45, some days it's 6:45, depending on how I'm feeling from travel and some other things and when I'm getting up. But I will always go outside and spend about 10 minutes in front of that sun. During that time, I will do breath work as well as get into the Bible. And then from there, I'm going and getting a 45-minute workout in, and I'll finish with a 15-minute sauna and a cold shower. And so within about 75 minutes, I've got my morning routine in and the way I go. And that's how I operate. So that's what I do for myself to keep me connected and keep me operating at a high level. And then obviously still doing my blood work every quarter and just being very informed as to what's happening internally and understanding my body.
Yeah. With all your success, what is one limiting belief that you've crushed along the way, and how did you get past it?
That's such a good question. And for me, it was that I needed to be seen. Like I needed to be recognized. And I think forever, be seen, be recognized, be included, whatever word you want to put there, basically came down to a belief that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't worthy. And a lot of it comes back to, like I talked about, when I was 12, when I was made fun of all the time for being fat. I was left out of things. I wasn't included. It was only by engaging in my athletics that it gave me any type of acknowledgement that I was worth anything. And so the way I overcame that was really inviting that fat kid back into my life, and loving that 10, 12, 13-year-old kid that was kind of shunned, because that kid, the resilience that he showed, the love and passion that he showed for health, ultimately shaped me into who I am today. And so I have nothing but gratitude for that guy. I have nothing but love for that guy. I want nothing but more than him to come along for the ride, because you've overcome that need to be seen, that need to be included, because I'm just confident in who I am and what my calling is and what I'm meant to do. And if somebody doesn't like it, if somebody's not all for it, if somebody's not accepting of that, that's okay. That's their problem. But I'm here to love on people. I'm here to serve people, and bring healing to people in a very holistic way. So the only way I was able to do that was having a team around me, therapists and coaches and mental performance coaching team, and like really establishing a system around me to make sure that I could get through it. But showing up with honesty was really where I needed to go first. And I have a little acronym for HEAL, and it's really, again, something that I used for myself first, but it's honesty. You have to be honest with where you're at. You have to be honest with what you're feeling. You can hide it and move away from it all you want. But it's not gonna help. 2 is engage. And so you have to engage with a team. You have to engage with people around you. You have to engage with people to help you get there. A is acknowledge. So acknowledge where you're at currently. Just like I talked about earlier with that guy with that story, is he wanted to be at the 4-month part at week 4, but acknowledge you're not there yet. It's okay. Acknowledge you're not perfect. Acknowledge that it's going to be a process. And then L is listen. And you listen along the way to everybody that's kind of guiding you and bringing you in those directions. And if you can truly do that and bring all of those together, you're going to heal from the inside out.
And I love all that. What's one actionable step our listeners can do right now to start creating more freedom?
I mean, number one is we've actually created a really cool health abundance score, which helps people understand where they're currently at and identify that. So healthabundancescore.com, they can go there and really start to understand where's their lowest barrier, where's the lowest hanging fruit for them to step into. And then once they identify where they're at, it'll actually take them on a 2-week journey to help lean into some of those habits, behaviors, and lifestyle changes that they can start to implement along the way. But outside of that is just really sitting back and getting honest with yourself. What is that disintegrated component? Is it mental? Is it physical? Is it spiritual? Is it emotional? Where is that disintegrated component? You don't need to have the solution. You don't have to know what to do next. It's just you have to identify. You have to be honest with yourself of where are you? And is there something that's holding you back? Likely there is. Identify it and then seek out help in the area that you need.
Last but not least, how's passive income, or really kind of finding your true purpose, made your life better?
Oh man. I mean, from a passive income standpoint, if I'm being completely transparent, for a long time in my life, I didn't know how to multiply money. Like, I didn't know how to bring that into my life. And in the same way that there's a lot of people who have figured out how to multiply money and they don't know how to have their health, that was the opposite for me. Is I found my health at 30 years old, but I hadn't really figured out the financial multiplication game. And so same thing, I went and got coaches, I got a team around me, and I've been able to lean into that in a much bigger way, providing me freedom and my health at 37 years old, which is now just something that is amazing, because you now have this whole new level of self, this whole new level of understanding, this whole new level of experience in life. And it's something that a lot of people think, oh, I just have to get to 50. I just have to get to 55. I just have to get to 60 and I can retire. I don't want to retire. I love what I'm doing. I love where I'm at. I love the life by design that's been put together, but it took work and intentionality. It didn't happen overnight. And by being able to sit into that, that's my life is awesome. I wake up every day with such a state of gratitude, such a state of, I'm not surprised, because when you truly live in a state of abundance and you live in a state of gratitude and you've put things together by design and you're deeply connected, you have that oneness. It's not a surprise that you become successful and you accomplish what you want. It's inevitable. It's just, how long are you willing to wait to develop that? And how long are you willing to wait to actually take your first step forward? So for me, it's been life-changing. It doesn't even, there's not really even words to describe it.
Yeah. Justin, brother, this has been absolutely incredible, man. I mean, truly, this is one of the best episodes we've recorded. Where can our listeners find out more about you?
Yeah, so like I said, healthabundancescore.com is a great place to get started. But if you go to ownitcoaching.com, you'll be able to figure out everything that we do and how to enter into our ecosystem. There's places to book calls with our team. You can find calls with me there just to learn more and kind of get more information on what it is we do and how we can potentially help you. And then also super active on Instagram at Justin Roth. I think it's been up on the screen the whole time. So those are 3 easy ways to get into our ecosystem really quick. But I think I just leave with everybody with, if there's been anything that's lit a spark inside of you, or anything that's kind of tugged at a pain point or turned on a switch inside of you, that's not by chance. Don't go back to what you're doing and try to bury your head again. Don't switch the channel or change the podcast or pause it and go right back to your life as is. That little feeling that you have inside, the reason that you listen to this, it's not by accident. It's igniting something and acknowledging something inside of you that needs to be addressed and needs to be looked at in a bigger way, and step into that. That is your first step. That is the most exciting thing, is you are about to embark on a journey that is going to change your life, not just for today, but for a long period of time. And ultimately, it's not just you it's impacting generations. It's impacting your kids, because habits are caught, not taught. And so the moment that they can see their mom or their dad taking ownership and living a life by design, ultimately gives now them to see the potential of what exists and a new perspective on where they can go as well.
A lot to think about, man. Justin, appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you as well, Seth. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Raise the Bar Radio. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Keep pushing, keep building, and keep raising the bar. Until next time, enjoy the journey.